live. Righto, so Lucy, you were yeah, but when I get home I'll change it. So you basically have introed the nature of your term.
Yes.
Yeah? And so last term you were doing different topics at the start of last term, right?
Yeah, we've been doing opposite to each other.
Yeah.
Like last year, was it last year?
Yeah.
I was doing participate, I was doing improve, and now I'm doing improve.
And it probably really get its speed this year, right? Like last term, first time round it was a bit.
Yeah.
Right,
And also this time round, my kids knew what to expect. I'd already done one unit, so they knew
because you had the kids for 2 years.
Yes.
Whereas I'll get a separate class, but because I knew what I expected from myself and from my teaching practice, I was more successful.
Right. Do you want to just talk through sort of, I guess, first, second, third, how the 2 terms went?
Yeah.
Don't go game by game. Just roughly what you guys did.
All right. So I did improve. Started last term and we've gone into this term. This has just taken that much time to do. The kids already knew what to expect. They were really excited about the improve because my kids are quite competitive. Some of them are quite sporty, but not all of them. But they're all active. They all have passions, which was really, really good. So when we talked about what improving is and that they can get the opportunity to improve on something, and more or less something that they could choose, a skill or a game, something like that, they were excited about it. We ran the little sessions, the little station sessions, and that actually went like a dream. I barely even set it up. I just gave them a few guidelines of what I was expecting. Thought it was going to take a lot of managing. It didn't. We probably did maybe 5 or 6 sessions. They just wanted to keep going.
So as a teacher, what was your style? How would you describe sort of the role that you had in this whole thing?
Facilitate setting up to start with. But we did the unit in like small blocks, really. So each little segment sort of set up and told them about it. We had whole class discussions, and then they just ran with it and they set it up. So there's at the expert stations. Almost every child in my class ran an expert station.
So was that everyone at once?
No. So we had maybe about 4 going at the same time.
So your whole class was out doing it?
Oh, yes, yeah. And they just rotated, and it went over a few days. Yeah. And they would have happily carried on if we didn't have to.
Yeah.
And you got heaps of good sort of student written stuff out of it all. Yeah.
They journaled every session.
Yeah.
I found that they were really keen for it.
Yeah.
They really enjoyed it. Like they've finished their stations and they've run inside and quickly write up about each
I
thing.
remember, I don't know if you realised, in the middle of this there was that debate around some politician that said you could get all your English credits through PE. And I was like, yeah, of course you could. Actually, if you need.
I've got more journal written stuff in their journal than writing in their
Interesting, eh?
Yeah. Because they're passionate about it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it didn't matter whether it was sport-based or a game or an activity. It was something physical, and they were all.
So what did you do differently, Carly?
We ran improve.
Your classes are quite different, eh?
Yeah. Very. I had quite a few behavioural challenges. But again, they were all so interested and also enthusiastic about all the activities that there weren't many issues. I probably had to have I was probably more involved in it than most. Because like you were saying, you could just kind of step back and leave into it, whereas I would talk about what stations we wanted to organise, and then we'd have 4 or 5 people go and set them up, and then we'd all go out and I'll put them into groups and they'll go around. So probably slightly more hands-on, but still very similar.
So when I made these units, I started with the 4 underlying concepts. So your participate is basically trying to teach Hawara as a unit, and improve is supposed to be attitudes and values. Do you reckon those 2 things were bigger, stronger than your normal approach?
Yeah.
Hawara, and even in your improved one?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, I think, what starts to happen is all of a sudden those 4 terms do become the things you're actually teaching.
I think as well, the stations went really well with all that. Like the kind of the pre-learning phase was training class as well. But then after that, once they could choose their own, that's all they wanted to do all day, every day, was that activity. They wanted to journalise it, they wanted to find experts, they wanted to coach themselves to improve that. And they'd come to school and they would have done homework without even asking my classes.
So,
and they'd figure that out for themselves, and that's all they wanted to do.
It's weird to kids who, as I say, doing unicycle, and they ask if they can take a unicycle.
Yeah.
If it's so they can practice at home, and that's fine.
Yeah,
you know your school's inquiry topics. Are any of them PE?
No.
And out of this, and out of your teachers sort of trying it now, is it possible ever? Do you think they will eventually see it?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely means of, but this term has changed.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, surely. I mean, it's a science base, but if you take change as value, you can totally make it work.
So,
And it's just a conversation that people have.
slightly leading questions to know your answer. In terms of your school program, what's changed since maybe January last year?
So this year I have made people participate in Year 7 and active improve for a Year 8 program. So the whole school will go through active participate and then active improve. Lucy and I wrote units, active improve and active participate, which we here can look at the wiki and work it from there, but we just trying to get 11 teachers getting their heads around the wiki was just too hard. So we sat down for a day and just wrote them all out into pretty step by
You're
step.
taking the technology out.
Yeah, and just wrote that into a
Put it into our own school format. So, you know, our school planning format. So all the teachers knew how that worked. And it was
then you had to read it, then you had to follow it.
And it wasn't a hard task.
So the question about the inquiry topics, effectively what you've done is force a really good PE unit at least once a year. And then what's the rest of your 2 years? Traditional sort of stuff?
Well, we've got a sports ed unit, which is similar to your active
Engaged.
unit. But we brought sports ed because that's what all the teachers know. That is it.
And then you must have the normal stuff, the athletics things.
In cross
taking that
country.
time. Yeah.
And
So-
then we have outside providers coming in term 1.
Yeah, so that's the problem with all of this is you're still booking all these people because they're funded.
Yeah.
So as the teacher, it's like, well, okay, I'm doing a unit on improving. How do I still get these outside providers to be useful? Yeah, without it being a problem.
And
One,
we have-
yep,
Like with Andy, we have one, like, we are winning with that, but I think that's because we've got such a close relationship.
Yeah.
Our school with Andy, whereas I don't know how easy it would be with other outside providers, because like Andy's at school everywhere.
if you think about it, you get, say, a tennis coach in for 2 days, and you're in the middle of a unit about participation, driven by all this stuff. All you're doing is critiquing what the guy does. That's all you have to do is go out, do the normal lesson, but come in and have a bit of a, well, how was it? Actually, do the spiderweb thing and judge it.
Yeah.
And then if it wasn't good on some of it, at least they recognise it and they can have that conversation about, well, why was it free? Why was it here? And, you know, how did that all happen? And that's the way it is. The engaged stuff, sports ed, your teachers will move there quick if you let them. Sports ed, the only bit I've wrapped around it is sports marketing. It's just marketing around an actual tournament. But then it takes time. You've got to steal.
But so maybe that could be a thing that happens next year.
Yeah.
Because Year 7s and Year 8s both do sports ed, so maybe that could be the next year.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know where any of this will hit, but if you look
Yeah.
at America, student, what are you? A summer camp person. America and Canada stuff is they allow PE to have a much bigger voice. I think that you're right. It's really you almost say it's commercialised, but it's not. It's just a fault for their space to do what they like. So. Okay, cool. Do you want me to push stop and deliberately change focus, or just keep talking?
Well, can I just ask a question? Like, we found that we had a little bit of resistance from students towards doing something that was different from what they normally do. Did you get that from teachers as well? Like, is there a little bit of
I think more so from teachers than students.
I don't think we've experienced much with students.
I don't like to, and I feel I would with my class, because they are quite different to your class.
So why did you get it? What were they concerned about?
Just the fact that it was not going
to
outside
think
and
about.
playing
Yeah.
badminton or dodgeball.
Maybe it's tired as well.
That the teacher's actually anything to
stay
say.
here and watch.
Yeah.
But I
Sign up for.
got the teacher hat on and kind of said, you know, at staff, I noticed that it is a curriculum area and it is an area that actually needs to be taught as opposed to, cool, we got half an hour left at the end of the day, let's go play dodgeball. Because that's not what PE is. And
That whole
Makes
thing about
sense.
when you do it.
yeah, and yes, it's time consuming. Yes, we've all got busy schedules and busy days, but it's just one of those things that.
Actually, I found as well something that, because before I did this, I was someone who was like, right, 20 minutes, okay, what should we play, PE time?
Your partner, husband, is a PE teacher.
Yes.
So how did you get away with that thinking? Did he not?
Didn't tell him.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was sort of my thinking. Well, that's what I did, mixed it up. But I actually found that a lot harder than doing this because my kids get bored really easily and they think they want to play infected for half an hour and you have to be the best thing ever. But after 5 minutes, half of them are like, bored, and it's actually as a teacher I found it really hard to keep them involved. Okay, we'll change the plan, half will play, half don't. And I actually found that more stressful than just as a teacher rather than sitting down and doing, half an hour, 40 minutes.
And sure, you've got to be organised. Like we had to,
Yeah.
have to do what we're doing this week, and we had to know, okay, let's read over those rules for that game again. But once you know it, it was easy.
The main teacher thing I think that you end up doing, if you did, is that you tell them what question you want them to find out the answer to before you go out and do it. So there's actually a reason to go out. Rather, is that sort of what you found yourself doing? Kind of, going out there to think about this rather than going out there to
Well, there's
do
always
this.
a reason or a goal or a task or something.
Which is the thinking behind Waltz, really, isn't it? But then Waltz have changed, haven't they, if I'm right? Keith Murdoch's pushing around the idea that Waltz should actually be questions, because if you do a Waltz that's not a question, you're telling them the answer. And most of the bright kids can just go, right, I know that now. Why do the activity at all? You've just told me the answer. So if you can frame it as a question, it makes some sense.
I think back to your question, were you talking about the students or the teachers?
More around the staff.
I think they were very, heck no, we're not doing that in the beginning. Once we gave them a unit and said, this is what you're teaching, it was way easier. Like I found instantly, people were like, okay, cool.
Just go.
Yeah.
Close.
And it's like, this is the first year, and so I need to get feedback from staff.
Yeah, that's it. What you should
It'll
probably
be
do
really
is go,
interesting.
look what you've done, not what you.
Like, because I'm not very good at Google Docs, I didn't share it with everyone properly. So they've all been requested.
Yeah.
So I know that people are doing it because they keep asking, and I can kind of follow where they're at because they keep requesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's
It
what's
was not done on purpose.
Yeah,
Really. It was great.
Right.
It is quite a big unit, so you want consistency of
Yeah.
it being taught across school,
Yeah,
different
absolutely.
schools. So.
Yeah.
Having said that, if doing it again and it is big, you could just pick skills or recreation and just
Or you just do
do
2
a piece.
lessons on each.
Yeah.
Like, or
Yeah.
or one day on sports-based activities, one lesson on
Yeah.
individual, one lesson on group stuff, and then choose from that.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 as well.
Yeah, or like Sarah did, do none of it. Just get them to choose and go from there.
Mm.
Just be much more present
Yeah.
in those conversations.
I think in our unit we have 1 day on each.
Yep.
I think that's what we've got.
Righto, let's move to Darrell at least. So you only did 1 term and you've had to force it a bit, is that right? Because you come in new. Yeah, so tell us what you've done.
So
Or
we
haven't done,
started.
maybe, or either way.
So we started active improve
Improve, yeah.
last term, and then we were interrupted with triathlon training and cross country training, and just not other teachers not wanting to go without PE, and so it was like infected. It wasn't.
Infected's a game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a one
Yeah,
game.
yeah. So after Bruce and I did this, we came back and said to the other 2 teachers, we've got 120 kids and 4 teachers, so kind of all do it at the same time. We just said to the other 2 that we sort of run it, but now listening to you guys and thinking about how it's going, we kind of need the other 2 more on board, and probably because it's too hard.
And you've got a strong PE old school mind in your age. this is very different. Yeah, you might have a couple, yeah.
So
Without
we
saying too much, yeah.
we just we just started with offering lots of different games and sports and skills to the kids, and they just rotated around about 10 different activities, some run by the kids and some run by the teachers.
2 or 3 weeks.
So over about 2 or 3 weeks. And then we came to a standstill because triathlon was happening. And we were going to say again, we could have actually used the triathlon training as part of this as well, but we didn't really think that's what it was. And then the children picked what they would like to improve on, and that's where they're at now.
Yeah. So you're in this kind of, how do you force it to happen to get to an end point?
Yeah.
And that's PE. That's probably, I mean, art does it, and it's by the fact that you have to make something. As PE, you can easily not create anything, and it just ends the term and nothing to show for it. But yeah, you've got to force it. So will 120 kids come out of this with something, or is it now become a smaller group of kids getting focused?
Everybody's doing something at the moment. I think some are getting more out of it than others. But I think that we need to be helping those kids more and maybe giving them better questions to think about.
Yeah. Be more critical in their choice.
Yeah. And looking at their reflection, some of them are like, I went out and I practiced basketball shooting, and that's their reflection. Like, they don't quite understand, and that's our fault, that they need to be saying what they actually did differently today that made a difference to what they did the day before. And so it's sort of
it's about selling it. That term, one idea of actually defining the subject sets you up.
Yeah. And I don't know if we did that well enough, but I know for next time.
Yeah. But honestly, I've been bashing this stuff around for about 15 years, and it's only now that it's, like ages to actually start to get it, figure out the real thing. Yeah, it's full on. So, it's going to stay? You're going to do it again?
Yeah.
Do you think, next year?
And we'll continue this term, because we've only really started with the kids doing their own thing. I think the cool thing is, like, the really sporty kids have actually picked things that they wouldn't necessarily do, but then some of them have picked things that they wouldn't get to do at school. So we've got a girl who plays ice hockey, and so she's bringing an older, I don't know what we call it, on land ice hockey stuff to practice a particular thing that she wants to improve. Yeah, and then our non-sporty kids are sort of just jumping on the bandwagon of lots of people doing basketball and football, so we'll do that too. But I don't think that's a problem, because they're actually going out there and asking other kids, and how can I do this better, and can you watch me do this?
Did you find that your really sporty kids were helping out? Really sporty kids?
They will if they've been asked, and a lot of them have said we're happy to help out.
Yeah, it's the same.
Did you say you guys have got the expert?
Yeah.
They've got the expert group set up. So we haven't specifically set it up. We've just kind of got kids who have said I can help with football and I can help with shooting at basketball. And so the kids know who to go to, but they don't run specific sessions.
I kind of found it happened without them setting up as well. They just knew that John was going to 3 pointers, so they were like, hey, can you give me a hand?
So if you think about it, you're shifting a whole, schools literally physically are building different buildings, and all of your programs are changing. But before this, perhaps, PE was like a timetable stops. All that thinking about how education will work is stopping because it's PE time, and now I'm going to do. This is a suggested way forward into 120 kids at once. How do you do it? An extra kids. So, okay, so that's the reality. And I think last year at Pens, or the year before, I presented some of the stuff as it's hard. It's harder than the other version. It's just better.
I think it's only hard for that though. It's only hard, like now we've done it and improved once.
Once you get structures in place,
It'll be
it's
easy.
easy.
It's easy.
And even with the participate stuff, you can jump games. You really only need about 5 games for 2 if you actually pull them apart and make the most of them. So, all right, how do you want to do this now? Because there's actually 4 different things here. Do you just want to go starting at one? Marie, you probably had a decent start at uni today. Got a bit messy.
Yeah, I probably did. Because I started. I'll go.
Go on.
Last year with the improving performance part of it. But then, and most of that was actually talking and wondering about noticing. So who is participating and who's not, or why, or what can we do to sort of help them participate more. Because I've got a year 3, 4 class of some really strong sporty kids and some really strong not sporty kids. So it was quite interesting. But then like this last term I really noticed that with doing the improving performance part of the unit, the kids actually took the unit and made it their own, which I was really impressed with. We started with a mind map at the beginning of the term, and we listed a whole heap of games that were quite fun and what we would want to play. Then we sort of talked about, well, what do I need to do, or what skills do I need to be able to play this game better after we've played the pool. I had a couple of weeks of playing heaps of different games. They decided that they needed to improve certain specific skills. So then we broke into 3 different skill groups, and they put themselves in their own groups. And I basically said, right, well, you need to sort out the improving performance. So they did. They actually took themselves off. They were asking questions, you just picked that ball really well, what did you do? And so then they started having the conversations, they stopped each other, and someone would come from another place and say, hey, actually, if you do this, then this will work. So they actually taught themselves, which was really rewarding.
So if you think the heart of the unit is actually attitudes and values, that's probably the bit if you did it again to make the real strong bit. There's like that perseverance stuff, that coping with it all going pear-shaped, and ending up with friends that aren't your friends, classmates who also want to learn the same thing, but you're not your friends, all that stuff.
Yeah, that sort of would come into it next time round. The other thing I did notice too was that the smaller group broke off and taught themselves something, and then they thought about the whole class as a whole. Like these kids don't like doing this particular thing that these ones do, so they designed a whole sort of game around practicing some of the skills while not involving others based on the strengths.
So you're saying that last year that participation thinking flowed into
carried on, and
it's what I was saying, that award comes through once you do a real big award unit. Is what participating is.
The other thing I do definitely is the reflection side of it, because we didn't do enough, and as I say, the language or getting the thoughts down was not strong enough, but yet the conversations were so much better now, or they are so much better now than what they were even 5 weeks ago.
The 2 intermediate, you guys will make 10 plates for filling things in, which I think we could easily do.
The 10 plates that I made up took no time at all, but that was the reflection, like that way I could guarantee reflection was taking place without even needing to call it reflection.
Yeah, and it's a bit like that going out through you can boil it down to real basics. After this, we're filling in this box. And they know you're going out for a reason. Yeah, but then life got busy, you've been out with all the Marios and weather and things.
We had a lot of, and outside coming in, and sort of the time just got shorter and smaller, and
and that's what it is. Either, actually, do you want to be able to dancing? Because dancing into theatre, it's year 6 unit as well, so.
Well, last year we were looking at, the participating, and I integrated that into my literacy, because I have the target kids who needed the help with their writing, and it was like, well, we'll go out and do this. How can we change this game? What other factors can we change? And then we've got to write about it, because it was straight away we've got something to write about. So that was really helpful for the 2015. However, 2016 has been a bit messy because we've had outside providers in, and we've got Dancing with the Stars this year. So all term it's 3 lessons a week, 3 hours of dance a week. And that's taken up our PE time. However, Lou has had my non-dancers and has been doing PE with them. So that's worked.
So what we tried to suggest was that those kids who did dancing effectively are getting better at something. So we did get them to do a reflection, kind of, sort of force something to come that kind of connected, but it wasn't going ahead on it. So then Lou had all the leftovers. You got some decent stuff, actually.
It was a bit messy to start with. So last term I did a whole lot of different things with my class. And then of course we split them into dance. And then we had people quitting dance, so I had all these group going and halfway through like a summer. I mean, for some reason I ran out. There's a couple of weeks where we didn't do anything. I can't remember.
Yeah, there
why.
was. I don't know.
There was a chunk of where it just didn't get done, and so we reflected on that because they started off trying to get better at the skill and then they stopped. And then when they picked it back up again, what was the difference in their skill level? And then we reflected every session at the end. They went in and wrote in the diary. I had quite a mix of kids, so I had kids that could write really well and a bunch that couldn't write at all. And some of them don't have the vocab skills to actually say what they were doing as well, so that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So out of it, I probably only really got about 8
Really good ones.
really good
Now,
diaries.
with the data that I summarised from Bishop Vale for this year, it marries our national standards data. That the literacy, just like I was saying, you can do literacy through PE. If they haven't got it, they can actually struggle to achieve PE in this way, unless we were to work around it and find a talking into a camera type of thing or
Yeah, but
something.
then I don't know that they could do that either.
Yeah, possibly not. So
But like to be fair, when after doing some of these, changing the factors and bringing new gear in, I can say to my kids, just say we've got 20 minutes, and I'll go get different gear and put one at a station, and then like 4 of you come up with a game. You guys, you've got this. You can do that with.
do you want to tell them with that? Because you banned or something happened that kids weren't allowed to do a game.
Gutball.
Yeah, and then
Gutball.
no, you banned it for their lunchtime or something. Yeah, they weren't allowed to
Oh,
do
that's
something like this.
breaking them.
They were
Yeah.
using soccer balls against us.
And our caretaker can't fix them, so we
Yeah.
sort of
It's not
took them away.
it's not very good. So, but then they came back. You came back, eh? I saw it as well. I didn't realise the backstory to it.
Yeah, so then we were out on duty and 2 boys from Lou's class, not the most well-behaved
Likely
kids in the
kids,
world,
yeah.
but they were out and they'd got some cones, 4 cones, and they were playing like their version of gutterboard without, so if you hit it and the cone flew that way or how far it went, that was more of a point. So they'd set up their own game and they were playing it and then they had other kids coming in and playing it.
So
we were
it's
like,
creating
who
a
needs
version,
gutterboard?
yeah.
And you can
You can't break plastic. In the intermediate, there's a few student voices where kids commented about the same thinking happening in their sports club or their youth group or something, that they actually saw the connection and thinking, which is about 3 or 4 kids, but that's kind of cool, especially if they go down to something that's modified and it's not, sporty kid who goes down to play rugby, but they don't get to play rugby, they get to play a 9-year-old version. Lots of sporty kids will argue with that in their own brain, but actually if they see why it's about, then they're
Maybe
into it.
like lower level kids that can actually teach this game.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we've done. And then they aren't the ones always being told what
Those
to do.
kids actually got called being goods from me, because I walked around and thought they were doing this awesome thing. And so actually they turned from being naughty kids who were banned to being from board sport. That was kind of cool.
On that finding things outside of school, I had one of Lucy's boys in my football team, and he came up and saw me the other day and said, "Oh, hey, I noticed on Tuesday sport that so-and-so wasn't participating. And I thought about it, and I think I know why." And he came up and he's like, "I think we need to do this, this, and this, and can we do that? Can we try that next week?"
It's a,
Awesome. And I was like, whoa.
and then if you go bigger and go, what's the purpose of the time slot in your curriculum area? And you think about, you're trying to build adults who
Yeah.
might be politicians or,
Yeah.
or voters and thinking that way. And they'll make decisions about real things, not just games.
And whether he knew, because they know that we both do the actors,
Yeah.
activity and stuff, so whether he knew that I knew what he was talking about, so he could talk to me about it, or whether he just
I think he would probably just, it was just, he wasn't trying to do
No,
it.
no, I don't think he
he
was
just
at all.
genuinely was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm noticing this.
Yeah, I
so,
agree.
yeah, really.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to impress. I think it was just literally just hey, this happened, and that would just like that could have participated sparked it.
Okay, so the junior school last year, it was hard.
It was on noticing.
Yeah, you just focused on noticing.
Noticing, yes.
Yeah.
But, we really made gains with it. The children were doing a lot more reflecting off about what was going well, what we needed to change, and everybody
Some of them really stood out, and it was the volume of kids that really picked up on it last year, right? And they were actually able to verbalise it.
Yes, which are easy.
If you think some of it's taking the power away from that very sporty kid.
Yes.
So like actually this is a whole class subject. Yeah.
Because I was one of the school who was going out.
We all are.
And playing a competitive game, and it usually ends up with, somebody feels bad because they lost and they're really bitter and twisted about it, But it's really changed the whole,
And
the whole feel
there's a
about
golden
it.
rule, the idea of change the game, not the people.
Yes.
Because the old way of PE, if you like, always sets up people to blame each other, whereas actually make the goal bigger and the problem disappears. Sort of thing. It's simple. So then this year we've been a bit creative again, but game time's becoming an issue.
Yes, yeah. But we stuck to the.
Do you want
To
to
the
recap
game.
what
Yeah, we
we
did. I'm getting better at something, and we gave the children three games: netball, no,
Hands,
basketball,
yeah.
basketball, soccer, and hockey. And we got the children that usually played soccer to choose either basketball or hockey, so that they were able to jump comfort zone of it. And then we all went out and played the game.
But they didn't rotate, they just stuck with
Yeah,
it.
they stuck with their game.
And we did it in little flowchart conversations along the way, just sort of, these are 5 and 6 year olds, so it's quite, you sort of got to force a bit of a capturing. With the rugby kids, we also had a basketball coach. Monday afternoons is basketball from the Rams. So what we did is all the rugby kids were doing effectively hands. So the rugby kids went into the hall and then they split half again and half went to basketball hand skills and the other half did rugby and they swapped over. So we kind of used it, but not exactly, but he was there and it was better use of time. The other thing we did a wee bit of was game creation. So I haven't talked to you about this. You get your group of rugby players and instead of just doing drills, you create something. So we were playing tag games where you couldn't tag the person with the ball. And we had about 5 balls and we were supposed to be teaching passing. So the runner would literally, I was the runner, chasing the people with the ball and they had to pass. And because I was the tagger, they never actually went out. And I was sort of yelling out stuff like, who's going to kick all the time? So it's just create a game that forces the passing. So that's not finished. We were talking about getting them together in teaching groups, but we haven't done it yet.
No.
Yeah.
And I was going to get one of my ginger aides fathers for the hockey, because he played hockey. We never doing it on change. Quite prepared to come in and be the expert and give them a few tips and things.
So out of sort of everyone, out of the Mostyn sort of the teacher-led, teacher-directed and down to student-centred, is this as far that way as you could feel this could go, down student-centred, or do you reckon there's more that way?
I think there's still more
From
what I've done.
So what?
And as last year, my active participant, Tim, after you came to visit me, I remember you saying you came to observe my class.
Yeah.
And you said at the end you should be able to bring a chair out and sit back and and by the end I was doing that.
Yeah. The secret is telling your class that's your aim.
Yeah.
Is to actually sit down and not be involved, and then they end up pretty much getting this.
And they ran a tournament then themselves.
Yeah.
And they did everything, There was time, the ones that didn't have that PE gear couldn't, for whatever reason, there was time, there was reps, there was everything, and I literally didn't.
So it seems like when you're listening, it seems like movement strain is really happening. Relationship strain is really happening. The sort of the A strain is sort of happening. Or quite, it depends on how you did it. The D strain stuff's the real hard one though. D strain is still the big picture, and to me there's still something more. Imagine if PE disappeared and in inquiry time it was just one of the options that they happened to bring in. And so you could almost make it just a natural part of your day rather than just a subject. it could almost just get completely overwhelmed. But my thinking is if we're doing we've got a couple of units, at least one really good unit a year, at least you're pushing the subject is the subject. And then that's sort of the aim. So the kids who aren't that good at other stuff might still be in PE in year 11. That's the aim. Because often they'll drop out some, I think, because they think everyone else thinks it's a Cambridge subject.
Yeah.
And if you've proven that it's not. No, you know what I mean though, it's the real deal, that's what it is. And if nothing else, all the PE sort of people that are going to come to Palmerston North, they know primary PE doesn't get assessed that often really well. What we've done is actually assess it. We've used some sort of measuring stick to sort of judge kids. And that's about it. So I don't know, is there anything else that we need to say? Basically you've done 2 out of 4 ideas. So the other 2 are that you run a sports ed unit where you contact a local business and you get their advertising. So they've already used the advertising, they've got it somewhere. You get the old stuff and you use it as part of your tournament. But the extra bit is you go back to that business and report back on it. So you ran a tournament, the reason was for tournament's sake, but actually the real reason is not. The reason a lot of tournaments exist is not really sport, it's a lot of big business stuff. So those kids then need to report back to the business. Who saw it, who played, who read the newsletter, all that stuff. That thinking would help kids as adults access funding because you have to report back in that same way. So that unit, and then there's another one around, it's sort of that health mentality around how a city is sometimes making it really hard for people to do exercise or to be healthy. And they look at what's happening in their community and they just analyse it, try things out and report, basically. So they might go, the Elephant Park, cool place to play, but actually it's really hard to get to. That's why I don't go. And they just at least recognise that there's real things that are barriers to their activity. So those are the 2. The sports ed one, I think I can end up making it happen fairly real in a real way with companies and stuff. Yeah, you could do it yourself. You really could, especially at a school like yours where lots of the kids' parents probably own companies and things. Yeah. Your class. yeah, but that should be doable. Do you know Brian Friedel? You know Brian Friedel? You know Brian. Brian was a DJ and a teacher, so he used to DJ at all bar one in town, and we ran sports ed. He'd bring in his DJ stuff, and it felt like a beach volleyball massive tournament thing. Sausage sizzle, DJ, fake advertising, but the advertising then wasn't real. It wasn't a real company. It was just fake advertising. So that's the extra bit. Also, in that conversation with the company, it's about would that company be happy for you to have V drinks as your advertising? So if you go to, I don't know, some Subway, for instance, what do they sell there? Coke or Pepsi? Yeah. And then you have Pepsi. That conversation is one that the kids might as well have, you know, and it's that sort of thing. My cousin, we just there last week, her high school in Australia sells fizzy drink and teachers don't drink fizzy drink. It's that same sort of stuff, real basic, which is the de-strand stuff. The idea that how many people actually had a hard time making it happen? Half of you left. Because of either outside providers or life, that's a de-strand objective. They actually realise that the school structure is difficult, it makes it hard for me to get active, to be a healthy place. Sport is tricky because it's not free. I have to go here, there, and everywhere. That's it. This is something Lucy made. I'll push stop, eh? Lucy, Solo, are you a